Lobe-finned fish, he gave the picture of how it changed, and you can do a computer animation, and National Geographic does this all the time on TV. You know, they show the computer animations of them changing, morphing from one to another. That's not science. That's imagination. I don't know how they don't see that, but that's all it is imagination. He said the only difference between you and a fish is the arrangement of molecules. Folks, there's a tremendous difference between you and a fish. Animals have a consciousness of themselves. They're alive. Humans have a consciousness of God. Vast difference between man and animals. The Bible talks clearly about that. I think that's obvious from common experience. So, I see no evidence for evolution. I think the theory is useless. I think it's only supported by things that are proven wrong, and I resent paying for it in the textbooks. Thank you.
Dr. Rainbow, you have, we'll give you 10, even though you used part of it.
What I would like to do, what I was asked to do, is to talk about evidence for evolution. And I would like to show you the most powerful example that I'm aware of in organismal evolution. The story of how birds evolved from what are called theropod dinosaurs. Now, let's see. Let me forward up here to, birds. Birds are exceedingly specialized with a vast array of very high-tech adaptations for flight. They've always been the quintessential example used by creationists of organisms that are far too complex and wonderful to have ever evolved spontaneously. They have weight-saving toothless beaks, astonishingly light hollow bones, stump-like tailbones, collarbones that act like flexing springs during flight, deep-keeled breastbones to anchor the powerful flight muscles, and special feet with reversed toes that allow them to perch. Most amazing of all, their arms and hands are highly modified to create wings, which act as perfect airfoils through the agency of feathers, special integumentary structures, which have historically been perhaps the single most difficult to explain structure in all of organismal biology. So, feathers, I think I'll defer talking about them for the moment. This is the theory that you've all heard about, that birds evolved from dinosaurs. There you see a dinosaur that's called Bambiraptor. And as you can see, it has feathers on it, but the feathers were not used to fly. The feathers were believed to have kept it warm, probably, since down feathers are the most insulating substance known to man. This picture shows some of the transitional forms from a National Geographic article. Sinosauropteryx in the back here. Caudipteryx, some of the dromaeosaurs like Velociraptor, and then on to birds such as Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx was a bird, there's no question about it, everybody agrees with that. And then on to modern birds. Now, this is a pretty picture. Anybody can paint pretty pictures. But what's the actual evidence for this? Well, I've tried to assemble a sequence. We think that juvenile T-Rexes may have actually had feathers, for example, to keep them warm. Here are some actual fossils. And I think what I'll do is just show this sequence. I don't know if you're trying to film this or not, but if you are, it would be a good time to turn the lights out and catch this, because it's the star of the show now. So here is let's see here. Okay, I'm going to show you a transitional sequence of organisms. And I'm going to show them to you first with no labels on them, just so you can get a feel for how the transitions are relatively smoothly occurring. Then we'll see the labels, and then I'm going to show you how the characteristics or the traits of birds accumulated in evolution step by step. So first of all, I decided to just start with a lobe-finned fish because I talked about that. We jump up to, now let's see, I need to get this on the whole screen.
View slideshow.
Thanks. Well, is that what does it? Okay, thanks. No. I'm forgetting the command to make it the whole screen here. Oh, that's right, that's right. There we go. I've used it about 1,000 times. Okay, but now why is it going back there? I've got to get to... Okay, there it is. Okay, so here's a lobe-finned fish, jumping huge macroevolutionary jump all the way up to a amphibian here. That would take a huge amount of explaining. And just look with your eyes at the sequence and how they're changing step by step in what seems to me a pretty smooth transition into organisms that look more and more like birds. There's finally a modern bird, and there's an eagle. Okay, now let's name these. A lobe-finned fish. You can see the dates there. A primitive amphibian like Ichthyostega. Again, that was macroevolution right there. Then we finally get to a primitive reptile called a cotylosaur. The first reptiles, an early archosaur, Proterosuchus. On to a thecodont called Euparkeria. And then a clearly bipedal organism, an early dinosaur, a theropod dinosaur, another theropod dinosaur, one that is known to have feather-like structures on its body, a tetnuran dinosaur like Allosaurus, which was a huge tetnuran, a maniraptoran dinosaur like Velociraptor. These are believed to be the closest relatives to birds. An avian dinosaur, the most primitive known bird, Archaeopteryx. Another avian dinosaur called Confuciusornis. An advanced avian dinosaur, a nearly modern enantiornithine bird, or what's called an opposite bird. A modern bird, like a pigeon, which is classified by most experts as still a dinosaur. And another modern bird, like an eagle. So birds are considered to be feathered dinosaurs by probably 99% of all professional biologists who are qualified to have an opinion on the matter. Now, this is the part that really talks about the evidence. So what I've done is I've shown here a list of all the traits that birds have. Okay, so all these traits are possessed by modern day birds. And I'm now going to show you the same exact sequence, and you're going to see how, as each organism comes up, you'll see highlighted in bright yellow the traits that organism displays that are bird-like. And the key thing to remember, think of the phase space diagram that I showed you. Think of these organisms as chattering their way through evolutionary phase space, being driven by natural selection processes, where each of these organisms was not trying to make birds, because evolution never knows where it's going. It's a free-running random program. But you'll see these traits appearing in bright yellow as we go through it. So here, a lobe-finned fish has, just say, something like a leg. Okay, then a primitive amphibian has a full-fledged leg, as birds obviously do. Okay, then getting closer to the real sequence that we're interested in. Cotylosaurs, the most primitive reptiles, have scales. Birds still have scales on their legs. And amniotic eggs, which birds lay. We go to an early archosaur, or ruling reptile. You see the formation of what's called an antorbital fenestra. That means holes in the skull. Holes in your skull. It makes your skull lighter. Birds have those to save weight. Okay, here we see a thecodont, Euparkeria, and although this looks like he's walking on four legs, it is believed by many scientists that this was bipedal at least part of the time. So bipedalism is critical in bird evolution because it liberates your front limbs to do something different, like become wings. Okay, then we have another early dinosaur, Ornithosuchus, and here we see offset ball and socket hip joint, and you raise the metatarsals and you walk on your toes. Birds walk literally on their toes. Okay, a theropod dinosaur like Coleophysis. This had hollow bones, as birds do. A pelvis anchors on more vertebrae, as in birds. It has a tremendously shortened thigh bone right here. A reduced fibula, elevate the first toe off the ground. We'll skip over that. We come to a theropod dinosaur with proto-feathers, filamentous proto-feathers, down feathers perhaps. Jump to a tetnuran dinosaur called Allosaurus, which has a strong fused sternum, fused clavicle or wishbone, and a three-fingered hand. A maniraptoran dinosaur like Velociraptor has a semilunate carpal, which allows you to get a slashing hand stroke. A swept-back pubic bone, as in birds, a shortened trunk. Go to an avian dinosaur like Archaeopteryx. You get a split propulsion left wing, fully modern flight feathers, lateral facing shoulder joint, and a reversed halic for a perching toe.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you. Here we have pieced together from fragmentary evidence. I've been able to reconstruct the evolution of silverware. You can see these two spoons here. Obviously, one's been subjected to more geologic pressure and has squished it out a little deeper than the other. I believe knives slowly turned into spoons over millions of years, and then gradually erosion cut grooves into the end and turned them into short-tined forks. Then very slowly, of course, takes a long time, the forks got, the grooves got deeper and longer. I knew I had the right order. You can obviously tell that, but I just felt like I had a missing link. One day I was flying to Connecticut on U.S. Air, and the stewardess handed me the missing link. I don't think she knew what she had, but my trained scientific eye caught it right away. Later I went to Popeye's Chicken. I now have two. So, the evolution of silverware is nearly complete. Of course, many mutants didn't survive over the years. And once people realized I was doing studies on the evolution of the fork, they started sending me research, hoping to become famous, People get desperate for fame in this field. This is a cutthroat business, okay? Somebody were hoping for fame and fortune. They sent me an obvious fraud. This is a fork head on a spoon handle. I caught it right away. I said, no, I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. This is a fraud, okay? Of course, how the race has evolved is still a question we're studying. But look, arranging things in order doesn't prove a thing. You can arrange words in order, turn a cat to a cot to a dot to a dog, changing one letter at a time. It doesn't prove a cat and a dog are related. You can play around long enough, turn yourself into a fool with this, okay? They say dinosaurs turn to birds. Well, let's study the evidence. The Bible says God made the birds on the 5th day, and He made the reptiles on the 6th day, which is exactly backwards to what evolution says. God has birds first, then reptiles. Let's study the evidence. This guy says, dinosaurs alive as birds. Well, you're welcome to believe that, but that's absurd, okay? There's no evidence for that whatsoever. It's one of the lies I cover on video number 4 of my Lies in the Textbooks. Archaeoraptor, October 15th, 1999. Scientists unveil missing link of birds, dinosaurs. National Geographic. Breaking news, missing link. Here's the picture he showed, November 99. He forgot to mention that 2 months later, it was admitted by everybody that it was a fraud. Archaeoraptor was disproven. It's not a missing link. The missing link is a fake.